Okay, now then, let's see right here. Now, you know what an actuator motor is, right? What's an actuator motor? If I was going to ask you what an actuator motor was and you needed to tell me in order to survive, what would you say?
I know the four-wheel drive actuator motor.
What does it do? What's a four-wheel drive actuator motor do?
Pushes the gears over.
Yeah, it moves something, doesn't it? Yeah. And usually, now, is that one there electric or vacuum?
Electric.
It's electric, so that's an electric actuator motor. Okay, what's a backup light?
What?
Backup light. You put the car in reverse and those white lights come on. That's a backup light, right?
I didn't know if you were talking about like a backup.
That sounded like a, well, lights, you mean to back up another one, yeah. But that's actually what. What about a concealed headlight? You know what a concealed headlight is?
Wait a minute.
What do you think? What do you think of when I say concealed headlight?
Hidden?
Maybe a Corvette? You know where the lights close up?
Yeah.
That kind of thing? Some of those Porsche cars, you know, they'll have the headlights will lay back and they'll stand up, but they're not concealed, you know. What about a contact switch? Is that a switch that's activated by pushing or pulling on the switch mechanism? That's either normally open or normally closed. You know, you push a button, that's basically what that is. Like you seen one of them horn buttons people clamp around their steering column? Or you'll see something of that nature. Okay, let's see, or maybe a starter switch, you know. A control device is any mechanical or electromechanical device that controls current flow in a circuit, any kind of a switch that is activated by pressure or whatever. Digital indicators, you got electronic or liquid crystal device, and it conveys either a warning or other important information to the driver. What's a dimmer switch?
It controls the brightness of the light.
Bright and low, that's right. Did you know this here's a headlight switch right here? You seen the headlight switch before? That particular headlight switch is one of them old style headlight switches. When you turn that knob in there, it actually changes, this little thing here turns and it makes the lights on the dash go bright and dim. Alright, so that's the dimmer switch too, is what the reason I was going for this. Fiber optics. Whenever I was working at the International truck place one time, a long time ago, I worked for about 6 months in 1985. One of the things I found real interesting on the International big 1.5-ton trucks that they had was those particular trucks in that vintage. Every one of those little indicators on the dash above your knobs that talked about your wipers and all that stuff had one light bulb lighting them up. One little light bulb. Now, how did they do that? They had something that looked like a flying saucer, and that light was right in the middle of it. And out the edges of that flying saucer had little fiber optics going to all of them. So when that light was fired up, everything on that little fiber optic network, all it was doing was carrying light. It wasn't carrying any kind of a signal. Pretty cool. All those buttons had that going to it. Then you got a filament, which is the central core of an incandescent bulb. This is pretty simple stuff. We're talking about lights here. Okay, now then, when you're replacing halogen headlights, you know what a halogen headlight is? That's a little capsule light like you see that you take out the back. You got to pull that little lock and do all that kind of stuff. One of the biggest problems that I have when I'm teaching people this, particularly on trainer cars, is I'll say you're supposed to take a headlight bulb out and put it back in, and you're supposed to take a headlight assembly out and put it back. Well, what they do is when they take the headlight bulb out and put it back in, they just kind of cram it in there. They don't put the lock on it, and they don't plug the wires into it sometimes. It's like, just want to clear this sheet off my board. I don't care if I do it right or not. Well, you're supposed to do all of this trainer car stuff like you're working on your mama's car and she's getting ready to go to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Treat it right. That's how you got to do that. So the technician should never touch the glass surface of the new bulb with his or her bare hands. Have you ever heard that?
Yep.
Don't touch those. What will happen if you do? Huh? It'll actually, may not blow right away, but it will. And that's actually true. Before an aiming screen and a headlight before. Why did I say before? Both a headlight screen and a headlight aimer are required to aim headlights.
False.
That's false. Now you can actually use an aiming screen, which is, you know, and I told you, remember I described to you how to make yourself an aiming screen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, take some masking tape, and basically you're going to be setting it up so the lights are shining level and straight ahead. So if you know how off the ground they are, and you know how far apart they are, and you know the car's pointing straight at the wall, you can put a couple of X's or actually crosses on the wall right in front of where the headlights are supposed to go, and then you can adjust it looking at those and put it shining right in the middle of those dots. And so they're supposed to go straight ahead and down the road. I used to think years ago when I was working at that gas station in the mid-'70s that headlights were supposed to be aimed so that they wouldn't shine in the other person's eyes, but that's not the way headlights are supposed to be aimed. The bright and dim takes care of that by itself. Some headlight aimers use the lamp centers with a rear view mirror, which is usually located exactly in the vehicle center. That's really, that's a false. Now number 5 is true. Some headlight aimers determine the geometric position of the headlight faces in relation to each other in gravity. Is that what you did on your little, have you driven your little black car at night since you aligned the headlights on it?
Yeah, it does. It's a lot better.
That's really, when they're pointing the right way, you're not hunting possums or, you know, or looking toward the ground or nothing like that.
Yeah, they got about 3 possums.
Yeah, you can see a lot better. All right, let's see. Number 6, vehicle headlights can be controlled by either a relay mechanism or a switch.
True.
Now that would be true. Moody, what you need? What you need?
Which letter on the van is the engine?
The 8th.
8.
Yeah, the 8 letters. All right, the relay controlled headlight is a light duty device which activates a heavy current relay. And that's basically, what is that, number 7, right? That's true. Well, I was going to say, watch this. All right, let me ask you this. Let's say, and this is a little electrical thing, that you've got a headlight switch right here. And that headlight switch has got B plus coming in. And coming out of it, it's going through the dimmer switch to the lights. And the dimmer switch is actually going to switch that from bright to dim. You got me? All right. Let's say that you find out after the person that, you know, the cars are, like this car was brand new. I did this one time. That's why I'm telling you the story. The headlight switch stayed on all night. It was a little plastic headlight switch, one of these kind that you just turn the knob. And that headlight switch, they drove it all night long, like to Nashville, Tennessee or something, and it burned up the headlight switch. And so they wanted me to fix it so it wouldn't do that anymore. You know what I mean? So how would you take care of a problem like that? If you've got a customer that's specifically requesting, I'm going to be driving a lot at night, I don't want this happening again. Well, you can put a new headlight switch and a new connector on it, but if they drive it again all night long, it's liable to happen again, isn't it? Okay. That's a smooth stroke, all right? And what we're going to do here, we're going to move our little dimmer switch over in our schematic just so that we can, you know, this is right here is going to bright and it's going to dim. All right, so how are you going to put that relay in there? Okay, now here's the relay. Let's go ahead and make this a relay. All right. That's the relay. And if you power and ground that relay, this switch is going to jump over. Okay, so you've got this wire right here that's feeding your dimmer switch. Your dimmer switch is not the problem, your headlight switch is. The dimmer switch is robust enough to carry it. And so what I did, basically, was I took this right here and I cut it loose from here. Actually, I didn't cut it loose from here, excuse me. I came off of it and I went right here. Got that? All right, and then I came off of this and I went right here. All right, and then I grounded this, and then this one here went there. Now, can you remember how to do that? You're adding a relay so that your original switch is closing the relay, and the battery power that used to go through the switch to burn the lights is now diverted through the relay, and all of the current is going to be flowing. It's going to be bypassing the switch going through the relay. So when the relay closes, the lights come on. And I managed to find a relay that was like a Ford fuel pump relay and a connector to go with it. And there was a place right behind the headlight switch in there where you could put that sucker where it looked factory. So it had a Ford relay, it had Ford connectors, it had Ford everything. And when you pulled it off, you'd think, hey, this is something Ford put on there. I mean, when you're going to make a modification like that, that's the best way to do it, so that it looks like something that was factory. I've also had to do this on some of the motorhomes that were burning up stoplight switches, because they had lots of big stoplights on the back of that motorhome, and that little stoplight switch, that little plastic stoplight switch, couldn't handle the load. It wasn't robust enough to handle it. Now, they came out with a stoplight switch later to replace those, but I didn't like those either. And so what I would do is right up under there at the brake pedal, I did something very similar to this. I would actually take it so that the stoplight switch was closing a relay, and the power that used to go through the stoplight. See, the stoplight switch has still got to be getting power, because it's going to have to send power to the relay coil. But I would pull hot power from before the stoplight switch and let it feed the common terminal and let the normally open terminal go out to the lights. And the only deal was when they mash the brake, they hear a relay click, but nobody was bothered by that. You got me? Okay, so remember that. That's a little quickie. This didn't take long. Okay, the relay controlled headlight switch is a light duty device that activates a heavy current relay. See, I actually redid that system. But the headlight switch is you can also do that like on somebody's got running board lights that they put on there that's burned up the headlight switch. You know what I mean? You know how the people put the running board lights and the clearance lights all over it and everything?
Big time. Brand new commode, all new hardware,
I saw that.
all new speeder valve on the urinal.
Wow.
Dang it, boy.
Yeah, that's really something. Plus, they got the sink reporcelain and it looks like brand new is what Papa G said.
I saw
But
it.
they got to find some faucets, I guess, or something to go on.
8-inch on the center, a little tough to find commercial.
Yeah. But,
Good for you, man.
yeah.
Good for you.
I bet they saved a ton of money on that reporcelain in the sink.
$150.
Is that all it was?
I think it's Panama City, I think.
Well, I told Rydell, I says, if it looks good, you ought to have all the rest of these out here done.
It's in motion.
Yeah?
It's in motion.
All right, that's smooth. Okay, now then, we got, let me see, let me back up here. The headlight switch is a heavy-duty, current carrying device that can be located anywhere in the driver's reach. Now, usually, on the older vehicles, that's true. And on a lot of the newer vehicles, that's true. But on a lot of them, your headlights and your turn signals and all of your stuff is basically going to send a signal to the body controller. And the body controller is going to operate relays that turn on the lights. You know, in these GM vehicles, when you hit your fob to open the door and it turns on the backup light so you can see what you're doing, you know, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Do you ever wonder how that was wired up? Have you seen on the Mustangs, the really nice Mustangs, how when they turn on the turn signals, they go ding, 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 ding. They do that because they're coming from the smart junction box. Each one of those segments in that light has got a different wire coming to it from that junction box. Now, the other day there was a girl that came in here and she had one of those. It wasn't one that worked sequentially. They just came on all at one time because hers wasn't one of the high-end ones. But the lights were wired up the same way. Each one went straight to the junction box. And the center segment on her right rear tail light was on all the time. When she got out to go into cosmetology, she saw that her light was on all the time, so she brought it over here. And I got to looking, and that inside that smart junction box that was feeding power out to that light all the time. So what do you do about something like that? You can't just buy one of those at the parts house. They cost about $350. And they got to be reprogrammed when you buy them. You need to get her buy on this deal. What are you going to do? Come on, guys, you're making the call. You Shelby, you're smart. Tell me. Shelby don't talk much, but he's smart. That's why I've noticed that. Whenever I finally get him to say something, he says stuff that's smart. Tell me something smart, Shelby. What are you going to do now? This is Mama's car. You don't want it to run the battery down, right? You don't, do you? What you going to do? What's the most obvious thing to do? You're trying to get her past this moment where she don't want to leave her car sitting out there all day long with that light burning, because you know it's going to kill the battery, because it's a stoplight. No, think about it now. You're wanting to solve her problem so she doesn't have a dead battery at the end of the day. And you don't want her to have to do something every time she parks the car, like disconnect the battery. You guys need some coffee or what? You get some coffee over? You don't smack yourself when I tell you what I did. I took the bulb out of that light. That wasn't complicated, okay? Y'all were trying to make it harder than it was. All right, but when I took the bulb out of there, she says, well, I guess I need to see about getting this thing replaced, this body controller. And I said, stop just a minute and think about what you're saying. She said, what? I said, is having that center segment of that right-hand light burning when the ones on either side of it work, is that worth $400? Just so that light will burn? If it was my Mustang, I would not spend $400 to make that light burn. I'd let that one be out until that body controller did something else that was more serious. You see what I mean? I mean, you can do that if you want to. It wasn't under warranty. It was an 06 model. So just think about, you let the punishment fits a crime. If it's a $400 part and all that's wrong with it is it won't burn that one light, let that light stay dark. Because you're not going to get a ticket because one segment of your right-hand thing is out. I believe it's out there on the computer on the far end. All right. If it's not, let me know and I'll get it up for you. Okay, now then, let's move on down here. While procedures for replacing most lighting system components often vary, the procedure for replacing the headlight switch is usually the same. My goodness, that's a silly question, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, those people won't. I'll just listen to your I'll just listen to the lecture.
Okay. Now them other guys are on the computer out there. Look in the March 18th folder and see if you can find it on that, and bring me that back. All right. Now then, let me see. Let me make sure here. Where am we at here? Okay, that one was false. Okay, upon application of the brake pedal, the brake switch contacts close, thus energizing the brake circuit. Is that right? Where's the brake switch? Where's the stoplight switch mounted on most vehicles? Anybody know? Where would you put it? Think of yourself as an engineer. Somebody says, okay, I built a vehicle and there's lights mounted back there, but I need you to put me something on here to make the lights come on when we mash the brake. Where would you put it? Mr. Clark, where would you put it? That's a good idea. What do you think? What do you think? The brake pedal be a good idea? Huh?
I was still missing.
Yeah. I said it's you'd put the brake switch on, the stoplight switch on the brake pedal. Basically what you do. They've been doing that for a very long time. Now occasionally you'll run into somebody that has a pressure switch that they put. That's a high pressure switch. Like Volkswagen Bugs used to have a pressure switch down there. We had two wires plugged into it, and that's what made your stoplights come on. But on the brake pedal is the best way to put it. Okay. There are three basic types of small lamps: square block, wedge, and miniature bayonet. I will tell you this: knowing the names of those different kinds of lamps that's a false question. It's not. I mean, it's a false deal. I'm not going to pinch pennies and tell you, pick the pepper out of the popcorn and, tell you that knowing what the names of these lights. You're just going to basically get the number off the old bulb, or tell them what you need. Say, I need a tag light bulb for a 2007 F-150, and they'll usually give you one of them little, 161 bulbs or whatever it is. All right. See. Oh, and I'll tell you something else. Let me tell you this while I'm thinking about lights, guys. Occasionally, you'll have a lamp out warning indicator on your. It comes on your dash when the light's out in the back. And occasionally, you'll also see where somebody has done this silly thing where they put a bulb in there that would work, but it doesn't quite pull the right amount of amperage, and that lamp out warning will still be on. So if you ever got one that the lamp out warnings are on and somebody's recently replaced bulbs, you need to make sure that the bulbs that are in there are exactly the right one for that application. Even the ones in the high mount stoplight. You got me? You got tests over there. Don't walk around with your hands in your pockets or I'll give you a broom.
I just got here.
Yeah, I know, but you still got your hands in your pockets, and that is against the rules in automotive. That is broom time if you got your hands in your pockets. Ain't that right? Grab your test out of your folder over and figure out what you need to do to dig your book. All right, hands out of the pocket. Hands on your hips ain't bad. Hands in your pockets is bad.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. All right. All right then. Okay, what we're going to do here, let's see. Number 11, that's false. 12, wedge lamps are gripped by metal fingers in the socket. That's true. Have you ever noticed how, what kind, this little light right here, you remember these kind here you stick in and turn? That was the most common ones for a long time. And some cars, believe it or not, still got these. Most of them, though, have got the little flat one you just stick in there. And those little suckers can look good. Most of the time you can look at these and see if the filament was blown. You can just look in there. Well, these little teeny tiny wires are actually going across. That little bitty wire is no bigger than that wire right there on that little resistor. And it actually is supposed to go across something that is sort of a sideways thing. And that is not a lot of contact area. The light will burn, but a lot of the times when you pull those lights out, you'll look at them and they won't be blown. That doesn't mean you don't need to replace the bulb, because these little things get oxidized and all that. And since bulbs don't cost much anyway, you need to put one in there. But they got 31, 33, 32, 31, 57, 32, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. Different lights, make sure you get the one that's right for the car. I mean, especially with in this day and age of body computers that are sniffing around under everybody's hood. All right. Miniature bayonets look like small. And number 12, by the way, was true. So is number 13. Miniature bayonets look like very small tail light and stoplight bulbs. And 14, small lamps are used in courtesy light systems. And 15, small lamps are used in dashboard light systems. That's true, too. All those are true. Okay, so everybody, is there any of them y'all didn't get? Which one? 3. Number 3 is false.
25 foot, ain't it?
Huh?
It's 25 foot, ain't it? It's 25 foot, ain't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's too far away. 25 foot's what the stuff that I've read says 25 foot on that. But the best way to do it, if there's any way you can. Now, a lot of these vehicles, they don't have them 3 little bumps on the headlight like yours did. A lot of them, like at Taurus out there, you're basically supposed to go by a level and all that kind of stuff that they got built in. So that's always pretty interesting on that. All right, anybody got any questions on that? Or comments? Okay.